March is Women's History Month. And in fact, Friday, March 8th, International Women's Day. And we welcome Bonnie Jill Lafflin here. She's got a brand new book out that is wonderful, In a League of Her Own, celebrating female firsts in sports. Bonnie Jill, good morning and welcome to WDHA here in New Jersey.
Good morning. Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm very good. This is an interesting read. There are names we know in the book, and there are many that we don't know. How did you go about picking who to use in the book?
Yeah, you were spot on. That's what I wanted. I wanted the ones that you know of, the Billie Jean King, the Layla Ali, the Danica Patricks, but then I also wanted some hidden gems like Manon Rhéaume, the first female to be in an NHL hockey game. Julie Crone, first female jockey to be in a Breeders' Cup and win it. So it was really important for me to have different facets of women in the book, from athletes, but then women who are in the front office and coaches and so forth. And to show younger generation and the younger women that there is a space for them and what that looks like. And it's, kind of resonates with all different women, not just one demographic.
There's a quote in the book, and it's from Bill Russell in the chapter on Jane Kennedy. And he says, and I'm paraphrasing here, you don't know it yet, but you're building a legacy.
Right.
And a little bit later on, Jane said, in the moment, it was never that big. I was just doing my job. You've been in that moment of doing something for the first time as a woman in sports. What did that feel like for you?
It's funny because you don't realize it until sometimes you're removed from a gym. And Danica Patrick said the same thing. She didn't realize she was a role model until she was removed from the sport. And I didn't realize it either until you start getting these messages from younger women and mothers saying, thank you so much for even writing this book, because now my daughter has a space. She feels that she knows that she can be in a male dominated world and succeed and thrive. And so that was so important. And we all feel like that at some point. Jane Kennedy was saying how Oprah ended up coming to her and saying, I looked up to you. Imagine having Oprah saying they looked up to you. I mean, how amazing is that? And so all these women, they all were so humble, Jim, that they had done so much for the sport and so much on this platform and didn't really realize what they had done. And then I think this book really celebrates that and shows all these women, and because they're so humble, they don't realize it. And but we all dealt with so much and so much sacrifices, but to celebrate them, not just during Women's History Month or International Women's Day, but every day. And then, like I always reiterate, not just to fill a quota for a woman, but that these women are talented and deserving to be in these roles.
There's a chapter on Mary Lou Retton. We all know who Mary Lou Retton is, and I thought it was interesting that both you and she referred to Nadia Comaneci as one of those inspirations. Here's a girl from Romania, and you know what the Soviet Union is like at that time, and here she is inspiring all of these kids around the world. And it has to be mind-boggling. And again, you go back to that. Well, you don't realize it at the time. She's just competing in the Olympics, and here are generations later still being inspired by her.
Right. And I don't think the younger generation knew so much about Nadia. And for me, as a young girl, I watched her story, her journey moving from Romania to the States, her struggle with weight, her struggle of being accepted and feeling like she had to fit in. And Mary Lou spoke about her as well. And I loved her story, looked up to her, was able to meet her. And just fascinated, like you said, that a little girl like me was so enamored by her, and now she's in my book, and we're all have this common goal to celebrate women, and Mary Lou as well. And she's been battling a lot of health, and and she was still so receptive to me and was so excited and honored. She's like, I can't believe you'd have me in your book. I'm like, what? You're America's sweetheart. You're Mary Lou Retton. You're on the box, my Wheaties box. I've told my dad you can't eat this Wheaties box because we have to save it. So it was just it was kind of a surreal, Jim, when you kind of just start to put it all together that, wow, all of us have done so much, but I don't think we really realize it sometimes.
I want to go back to Jane Kennedy for a moment. She was helped by two people during her career, and one was Irv Cross. And it's not lost on me that Irv Cross, also a minority in a business, while dominated by men, certainly not men of color, at least, not at the time. I think back to that, and I think you mentioned too at one point Kobe Bryant being such an inspiration to you in your career with the Lakers
Yes.
as a scout.
Yes, absolutely. And I was really down one day because someone had wrote this like hit piece on me. I'll say at the Boston Globe. And so I was really upset. I was crying. We were during the NBA finals, which Kobe had other things to focus on except, me crying on the plane. But he was a mentor to me. He was a girl dad. Even before that was popular, being a girl dad. And he was so embrace women in sports. And he was so upset that someone had attacked me. And he said, you know what? This is good. You want the naysayers. He goes, you want the haters. He goes, you want the doubters. He's like, because that's going to fuel you. That's going to give you the fire. That's going to be your chip on your shoulder. Because he always would say he would play with a chip on his shoulder, even when he'd win all these championships. And so he kind of really had me zone in on, turning out the outside noise, focusing on my goal, and proving people wrong. And it really made me, even to who I am today, where I've got this thick skin, nothing offends me. I push through, resilient, tenacity, work ethic. And I think that resonated with all the women.
If you ain't got hate, if you what is that line of the song? If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. I
Right.
think it's something.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Yeah.
That's probably the last lyric you expected me to come up with this morning.
No, I like it. I like it. But haters, and a lot of us, we didn't deal with social media. Like in the beginning of my career, I didn't deal with as much as, towards now what I'm dealing with. But the social media, a lot of the women, they said they're like, we're so happy they didn't have social media. They're like, I don't know if I would have been able to handle it. So there's something to be said with that as well, that they didn't have that. But at the same point, some of these women didn't have the social media, so they didn't have the platform or the highlight on them. So that's why I wanted to make sure that they were celebrated and highlighted in my book.
There's a chapter on Nancy Lieberman, and her name came to mind recently with Caitlin Clark being in the news, setting the brand new NCAA D1 record. And already, and you mentioned social media, already it started. Well, Pete Maravich, if he had had the 3-point line, like, come
Mhm.
on, let her celebrate this. This is an amazing
I
achievement.
know, Jim, you're speaking it exactly what I said. I said, you look at the comments, and of course, Pistol Pete, they're talking about how she played in so many more games. There wasn't the three ball, but it's like she's still doing something so fascinating. But because she's a female, people want to minimize it. And what she's done for women's basketball, people don't watch women's basketball. Oh, yeah, a little bit, but now they're all watching. Everyone was watching that game. I wish it was a little more dramatic than just her, from the line, but still, it was, so great to see that she had accomplished that. And she's so humble. If you look at her, she's so humble. She's such a great role model. And what she's doing, not just for women's basketball, but what she's doing for all of us, women in sports. So I want to do a second book because I need her in my books. I am such a fangirl. I love Caitlin Clark. I even have her jersey. I bought it because I was like, I have
The other one, and she's not in sports, so there's no first here, but it's Taylor Swift. And I can't help but think of the number of young girls who are watching football as a result of this, maybe sitting down with their older brother or their father
to.
or whatever, and they're watching football and they're seeing someone, and I'll throw a name out like Erin Andrews, who's not in your book, but maybe in the next one, watching Erin Andrews on the sidelines going, I want to do that.
Yes, and it's funny because someone asked me when I was at Super Bowl during Radio Row, what is my take on Taylor Swift? And I think people were surprised. My take is she's amazing because she is bringing female fans to the sport. I have finally, I mean, I'm speaking to all these dads, athletes who are, dads saying, my daughter, I'm a football player, I'm in the Hall of Fame. She won't watch a football game with me. She's sitting here watching the Buffalo Bills Kansas City Chiefs game with me. That is crazy and so wild that she has that impact. And now you've got all these female fans that want to watch not just Chiefs games, but any game. And so I'm all for that because it's bringing this females, to the NFL. And so why would people hate on her? She's going to a game to see her boyfriend, and now she's bringing all these female fans. I'm all for it.
I know you were the first female NBA scout. Is that still the case? There have been no other females?
It is. I don't know why. I mean, Dr. Jerry Buss, the late Dr. Jerry Buss, he was very forward thinking, and he really embraced females in all facets of sports. And so he really took a chance on me, and it worked out. I was there 13 years with the Lakers, got 5 rings, and I'm still very close to the organization, and love the Lakers till I die.
Major League Baseball seems to have done a really good job with that. And in fact, locally here, Anthony Volpe, who's going to be the starting shortstop again with the Yankees, part of the recruiting process for him with the Yankees was a scout by the name of Kelly Rodman, who did an amazing job. One of my best friends in baseball, as a matter of fact, his daughter is high up in the scouting department with the Miami Marlins. So I think Major League Baseball has really done an extraordinary job there.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you know, but Rachel Balkovec, who's actually in my book, she
Yes.
was the Yankees minor leagues, and she now is a director of player personnel for the Marlins. And so she really, what I love about Rachel is that she really started at the bottom, in the minor leagues in the farm system, and then worked her way up. And, she's doing phenomenal. And now she's director of player personnel. So I think it's phenomenal. I mean, yeah, she went from the Yankees to the Marlins, but still,
If I'm
she's
not mistaken, she started as a strength and conditioning coach in the Astros organization. Speaking
she
about
did.
Rachel,
She
the
did.
book
And
is a wonderful read. It's called In a League of Her Own, Celebrating Female Firsts in Sports. Bonnie Jill Lafflin, thank you so much for your time this morning here on WDHA, and best of luck with the book.
Thank you so much for having me, Jim. Have a good day.